All right, you guys, we're back and we're live. Welcome back to our weekly live feed. As you're logging on, I'm going to promote some of our sponsors. We always give it about 3 minutes or so for everybody to get on here. So we're waiting for notifications to pop up, all that kind of fun stuff. If you are logging on Instagram, we are live on YouTube and Facebook as well. It is a better experience if you're over there because we do screen shares with photos and all of that. If you're on Instagram, all you're going to see is my face. So head on over to our YouTube channel. And while we're waiting, as you're logging on, say hi, type into the comment section. Let me know where you're coming in from. I always like to see where everybody's coming from. And we are going to talk about our sponsors a little bit. So Prozis is one of our channel sponsors. They are your one-stop shop for everything sports nutrition and equipment, apparel, everything you could possibly need right here. So go ahead and scan that QR code, or the link is also in my description box here on YouTube too. And you can use Cuties10 as your code for extra savings with Prozis. Hello from Boston. Awesome. Like I was saying, if you're on Instagram, you can listen to me on Instagram. That's cool too, but you're not going to see any photos. So make sure that you head on over to YouTube so you can get in on the fun and the photos. We got Michigan. What's up? I know we got Tampa in the house. And then I'm going to pop up Liquid Sun Rayz, also channel sponsor. What's up from Phoenix? Yeah, just saw you a minute ago. Posing session. So Liquid Sun Rayz is also one of our channel sponsors. They do everything having to do with your skin prep and tan for competition. And if you are part of my Backstage Pass, we have our Zoom call tomorrow night with Marilyn, who is the founder of Liquid Sun Rayz. So she's going to get on with us and go through everything you need to know when it comes to competition tan, skin prep, tan removal, all of it. So if you are with Backstage Pass, that is a perk that you get as one of our speakers for our Backstage Pass behind the velvet rope. And if not, well, then use this QR code right here or the link in my description box, and Cuties15 will get you some discount there too. We got Niagara Falls, we got Charlotte, we got Canada, we got New York City. Awesome. Welcome, you guys. Welcome. We give it a couple more minutes here for everybody, or not minutes, a couple more seconds really, because we're almost at that three minute mark. And lastly, if you haven't done so already, follow my new IG, Stage Ready by Sean. I am live on my Sean's Couture Instagram at this point. But probably, I'm guessing probably by end of August or so, we will be completely over on Stage Ready by Sean. We're just switching over. If you haven't noticed, we're switching over a lot of our URLs. So it just takes a little bit of time to do that. So we got Cali. Awesome. And while we are pulling up this weekend show, so we have no shows to preview this week because there's no shows, there's no pro shows this weekend. There's just USAs. So we have one posing client of mine that's going to be competing at USAs. So give her a big shout out, Emily Nguyen. She actually just won 4 overalls at the Patriots NPC shows, our first show ever. So she won True Novice, Open, and Masters overalls. So she's going into USA's this coming week. So it's kind of crazy. Her first show was Saturday, and then she's going into one of the biggest national shows on Friday, so less than a week later. So wish her good luck on that. We just had Masters Nationals last week. Next week is a big one. It's Tampa. Typically, I'm at Tampa. This year, I'm not going. And I have decided that my husband and I are going to go away for a couple of days. So so I was going to go live, but that's the one weekend this year that I have blocked off on my schedule. And since I'm not going to Tampa anymore, my husband and I are going to take a couple of days and just get away because your girl needs it. So we'll be doing that. I'll be following along with the live stream through my own virtual means at that point, like all of you will be, I'm sure. So we're going to review this past weekend's shows. So we had some good ones. We're going to start with Colombia. Let's look at these photos first. Okay, here we go. So Colombia's photos are a little bit on the washed out side, so it's a little hard to see. We need some more pigmentation to them. But you can see it was a decent sized show. It was 11 people or so. I know a lot of people were looking at some of the photos online and saying that the girls looked like they had, a lot of muscle and that kind of thing. They really didn't. It was just the lighting of the photos that were put up on Instagram and things like that. So when you actually look at the photos of the competitors, clearly we have muscle, but it's not more than what you would typically see. So let's take a look at our 5th place winner here. This is Daniela Bracco. And these photos just came up the other day. So, looking at Daniela, nice shape, nice frame, really solid, really good look, like overall package, but she looks like she's a little bit watery. I see it specifically in the midsection. Her midsection looks a little bit distended here. I actually like the fullness of her physique. She's got quite a bit of quad, but that's okay. She's kind of full. I think she matches from top to bottom. I kind of like this front pose. I think if we had a little bit more contrast to the lighting here, I think this would be a really nice pop of blue on her. She probably needed to be a little bit tighter. And I don't necessarily think that's a leanness thing. Just looking at the photo, it almost looks like she's just holding a little bit of water. Specifically, you see it in her midsection here. But overall, really pretty look. And I don't really have any bad critiques about her front pose. I think this is actually a pretty good front pose too. So that's encouraging to see when you see, like, again, we talk about these foreign shows and stuff sometimes. It's nice to see posing look good. Let's take a look at back shot. So I have critiques on her back shot here for sure. So looking at this, she needs to be a touch tighter. Pop of her glutes is nice. This suit bottom is not doing her any justice. She's a little bit hiked up in her upper body as well. The suit bottom is it's accentuating the fact that she's got a few shallow spots on her upper glute here. She needs to pull this down. I see this a lot. Girls yank those suits up. This happens a lot in these South American countries and things like that too. They really yank their suit bottoms up really high. And if you're not completely full up here on the top part of the glute, it actually makes your glute look shallow. So she really needs to pull that suit bottom down. I did notice in the front, the V was very low. So I think she actually just needs to pull the V up from the front and down in the back, and it would sit on her a whole lot better. Overall, nice shape. I just think she needs to be a touch more conditioned. She, again, looks a little bit watery. Great if this is her pro debut. Fantastic look for her pro debut. But there's just some things like conditioning wise and posing wise and things like that. Just some minor things that I would change here. But overall, not a bad look, especially if it's a pro debut. Good for her. Then we have Roxana. So Roxana is a previous Olympian. Expected her to be up in these top spots, that kind of thing. So let's take a look at her front pose. She's one of those competitors that can pose on both sides in the front. So already here we can see like her waistline is a whole lot tighter than Daniela's was, right? So she is not carrying water here. This is a beautiful front pose shape. She's got a really extreme V there. But what I would say is she needs to tweak this pose a little bit because it almost looks like she's pushing into it too much. I would take the hand and bring it down a little bit on her waistline. It's a little high. And then I would stand up a little taller. While that curve looks fantastic, it looks a little overdone. So I would just stand up a little taller here. Also, not a fan of her glam. Even with this washed out lighting, her glam's overdone. Like she looks like she's got blue eyeshadow on or something. I'm not really sure. And I would also kind of zhuzh up the hair a little bit. Looks a little bit flat to me. I think her conditioning is pretty good in this front pose, but again, I think she's just overdoing it on that arch. It's a little bit too extreme with that push. Let's take a look at her back pose. Well, do we have there we go. I was gonna say, do we have a back pose? We got some back poses. So from the back is where she lacks in her conditioning. So again, she's got a great shape from the back, but she's posing a little bit wonky. You can see her elbows out a little bit. Let's see if this is where she completely lands. Yeah, that's her full back pose there. So again, she's pushing a little bit too hard. She needs to stand up a little taller. You can tell just by the arch in her back, it's a little bit too much for that arch. Yeah, I'm gonna miss being in Tampa this year too. This is the first year, and I don't even know how long that I'm not going. So I'm gonna miss being in Tampa as well, Lexi. So she needs to stand up taller here in this pose, and she needs to open up her back a little bit. She's very unbalanced top to bottom from the back. Great projection on her glutes, but she needs to be a little bit tighter. You can see she's not quite conditioned enough on the lower half of her body. So I really think some of these things, she's probably pushing into it that much because she's not conditioned enough. That's probably part of it. So I would say, she needs to just come in a little bit tighter and stand up taller and open that back up to really balance out this back pose here. Now, again, the lighting is pretty washed out here, but I think the suit color might be a little bit too light for her as well. She might need to do a little bit of a darker purple to really pop off her skin tone. And then we have Rainia. Sorry if I'm pronouncing names wrong. Y'all know I try, but not the best in the world. So conditioning looks good. Okay, that's the first thing. Her conditioning here looks very good. She looks pretty balanced from top to bottom. Not a fan of this front pose though. She's got a short torso, so she needs to stand up taller. From the waistline down, I think it's pretty good. It's her upper body that's throwing me a little bit. I'd like to see her stand up a little taller, pull the chest up a little taller, and just kind of open up that back shoulder a little bit and open up the front shoulder a little bit. This almost looks like she's going a little towards figure with the elbow sticking out a little. So she just needs to rework this top part of her front pose a little bit. Something to make her look, I don't know, less blocky, I guess. She looks a little blocky here. Take a look at her back shot. Not fully posed yet. There we go. So I think the reason why she's in this placement is her back shot is well conditioned. What's up? Welcome from Virginia. There you go. So this is a better conditioning, right? So suit bottom's very small. That's really pushing it on how small it is. She's very muscular from the back, but her conditioning is clearly better than what we saw on Roxana. So I think that's why she ended up a little bit higher in the placings here. But she's just blocky as far as her shape is concerned. She's very blocky. So she's going to have to work on kind of building out the shoulders a little bit, pulling down the muscularity in her legs a little bit, I think, from the back. Some of this could be fixed through posing as well. I actually really like the projection on her glutes. I like her conditioning. Her conditioning is not too hard, but it's almost too hard. We're seeing the hamstrings touch and all that kind of stuff, that diamond drop. So, it's which direction do you go? I think Roxana was a little bit too soft. She's just a touch over the line. So I think that they kept her here because she's closer. But yeah, as far as shape, it's hard because she's got a very short torso. So that's what makes her look blocky like that. So it's hard to work with that shape. I think she did a good job of working with her shape, but I think she's just going to have to work out, getting a little bit more, bring that lower back in a little bit more. I don't know, it's hard, or build out with her back. I'm not really sure. That structure is going to be difficult to work with to try to get her up into higher placings, that kind of thing. And then is it Mariana, maybe I said that right, hopefully. Mariana. So Mariana's in second. So again, conditioning is pretty good here from the front. She's nice and full and round. She's got a smaller waistline than what we just saw, right? Because she's got that longer torso, so it helps her give her a better V taper here. 100% agree with her being ahead in line as far as the placing is concerned here, specifically from this front pose. Front pose looks great. Probably could add a little bit more shoulder just to balance the upper and lower body. That would probably help, but overall, pretty good right there. Pose looks pretty good too. look at back pose. So when we look at her back pose, it's pretty clear where she's lacking, and that's in her glutes. She needs to grow some glutes from the back. From the front, her glutes look fine. From the back, she definitely needs some, right? Conditioning is a lot better here than even the last girl we were just talking about. Upper body could stand to be open a little bit more. Again, like I was saying, from her front pose, she could add a little bit more shoulder here as well. But in general, like her muscularity in her legs is fine. She just needs more glute. For sure needs more glute. She's got no outer projection. She's in shape and her conditioning is on point for the division and criteria, so I understand why she's in second place. It makes sense. But if she wants to be more competitive, she's going to have to grow some glutes there. That's really the only thing she's missing. Add a little bit more shoulders. That's being nitpicky, but she definitely needs some glutes. Definitely needs some glutes. Just in general, all the way around, grow some glutes. And then we have Evie, which we all kind of assumed Evie would be winning this show, and she did not disappoint. Take a look. So, really well balanced pose here. She's standing up nice and tall here, nice and tight through the waistline, not overly muscular anywhere. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for balance. We're looking for nothing to stick out. I would probably drop that arm a little bit in the front pose. She's letting it wing out too much and it's actually detracting from her shoulder. So just let that arm drop down a little bit. What I would say is that where she's going to come into trouble when she gets into more competitive lineups is she's got a bit of vascularity in the shoulders and in the arms there. She's going to need to tone that down. But in general, the rest of this is pretty good. I would look at the vascularity in the arms, and I would also drop the arm down. That's the one thing I would change from the front. Let's take a look at her back pose. And again, not a whole lot I would change from the back other than I feel like her legs are getting a little bit borderline too much, and I'd like to see more overall pop from her glutes. I feel like she's sitting into this pose a little bit, almost in the knees, like bending a little too much. Maybe if she stood up a little taller here, that would help. That would probably make her glutes pop a little bit more. And I would also say this looks a little bit unbalanced, like she looks a little bit bottom heavy versus her top. I would like to see more shoulders come out here in the top to balance her. And just overall projection from the glutes. I think the glutes issue is, again, it looks like she might be sitting into this a little bit. So if she stood up a little taller, that might fix that problem from the back. But she's going to have to be careful about growing her legs too much. And I would really pay attention to trying to fill out the shoulders a little bit more to kind of balance the top and bottom. But overall, it's pretty clear why she won the show. Her conditioning is right there. Her conditioning always is. One of the things she gets into trouble with when she's here in the States is she does end up being a little bit too conditioned for some of the shows here. But in a show like this, she's right on. She's right on. So this is not that, she's got little things she's got to work on in order to be more competitive in the States. But whenever she's in, South America or Europe or something like that, she's always going to be at the top of the pack. So no surprise there. So let's take a look at Chicago next. Okay, so here's your top 5 for Chicago. Now, again, we had 12 girls in this one. So again, not a huge show, but we had 3 shows to go to this weekend. So it makes sense as to why it looks the way it does as far as the lineup is concerned. So let's take a look at Tatiana. So she was just in Vancouver. She placed well in Vancouver as well. What did she place? She was 4th in Vancouver. I felt like looking at her at this show, she was a touch tighter than she was in Vancouver. Could just be the lighting too. It might not be. She might not have been, but I think she looked a little bit better here in this particular show. She's nice and full everywhere. Nothing is like overly hard. Nothing is overly grainy. She's got a little bit of vascularity in the arm. She's going to need to be careful of that bicep vein really popping. So just be careful with that. You get too much leaner, that's going to pop a lot. So I would be careful of the bicep vein. But other than that, this looks pretty good. Now, she's another one that has a very short torso, but she's got a really good V taper at the same time, so it doesn't look blocky on her. She just, as long as she stays up nice and tall in this front pose, she's going to be okay with it. She's got a very cute look, very, girl next door kind of look. So I do like this. I would probably play with the front pose a little bit. See if you push the toes forward a little. Just see if you can get that glute to pop a little bit more. But overall, not a bad look at all. Let's find a back pose. So from the back, she's got some good glute pop, but she needs to be a little bit bigger in the glutes, I would say. We've talked about this before with some other competitors where it just kind of looks like it goes from glutes down into legs and there's like no differentiation between the two. We're kind of seeing the same thing here. Not bad by any stretch of the imagination. She's got great conditioning with the hamstring tie and it's there, but it's not overly pronounced. That's all good things. She's got good width up on the top. I would just like to see probably a little bit more on the upper outer glute to give her a little bit more of that glute pop. Outwards versus this way is pretty decent, out at us, but I just like to see more shape up top. I think that would be good. And I do think her hair is just a touch too long. It is obscuring her lower back. We can't see that, so we can't see how small her waistline is. So I'd probably go like an inch shorter on the hair and V it in a little bit. And that would be helpful for her back here. But overall, a pretty strong back shot, pretty good projection with the glutes. Just needs to kind of work on adding some size from the back. Next, we have Lizzie. So Lizzie has been, pretty consistent up in that top 5. Let's find a front pose of her. Let's see. Here we go. Here's a front pose. So this is pretty good. I would say she's a little bit hard through her quad. A little bit hard through her calf here, but this is just a little bit over the line as far as conditioning is concerned here. But through the upper body, she's right where she needs to be. That said, this arm needs to relax a little bit. So let's see. She does relax it. Yeah, that's pretty good. So the fullness and everything of her upper body is really good. I'd say probably where she's getting docked a little bit is this really deep cut right here into her glute, with the radius into her quad. I'm guessing that's probably a pain point right there. Because her waistline is ridiculously small. She looks really good right there. So the upper body part of it looks good. Just got to fix this aspect of it being too hard. Let's find a back pose. I think she's fully posed here. Yep. Good. So again, shape is great here. Nice pop on that outer part of the glute. This is what we were just talking about with Tatiana. This is what Tatiana needs. She needs that outer glute. And I would say that Lizzie actually needs some more out, like medial glute. But she's definitely very hard through her hamstrings. Like hamstrings are very prominent here. This is cut in pretty deep. So she's got to add some fullness onto her legs. Upper body looks great. Again, I love this width in her upper body. Upper body looks spot on. It's just the lower body is just a little bit too hard and a little bit too meaty and muscular here. She's got these hamstrings that are just killing it. I used to have hamstrings like this, and that was actually a critique I used to get. This was back when I was doing figure. So that my hamstrings overpowered everything. So that's what I'm seeing here. She needs to soften all this stuff up in the back so it doesn't look like quite so meaty and like I could like bite into that, just a little bit too much. Just a little bit too much there. And then we have Jessica. So Jessica came back. Last show that she was on stage for was the Olympia. She is the Masters Olympia champion right now. I did speak to Jessica after this show about her feedback. They basically told her she just needed to be tighter. I think it's a beautiful look on Jessica, but again, agreed. Her conditioning needs to come in a little bit. You can see it in her waistline. You can see it just in her upper body a little bit. And I was honest with her. I do not like this suit color. She said that the judges didn't have anything bad to say about it. She asked, they said they liked it. Here in this particular photo and the stage photos that I've seen, it looks like it's very muted. It looks like it blends into her skin tone. It's a coral color, and I am not a fan of that. And again, I told her honestly that I was not a fan of it. I told her a few of my thoughts as far as what I'd like to see her in. So we'll see what happens going forward. But, this was a risky color. Any kind of orangey, coral, pinkish light color like that is going to be risky. And like I said, she said the judges actually liked it, but I'm sticking to my guns and saying I don't. So she knows that. Again, I was real honest with her. I think her front pose is phenomenal. I think she always looks great from the front. Where she has an issue where she gets hung up as far as winning shows is from the back, because she's sometimes not tight enough and she doesn't have that upper outer glute pop that she needs sometimes. So let's take a look at her back shot. So from the back, again, conditioning, she's got some great projection on her glutes outward, but she needs to be tighter. I mean, it's pretty clear from the back, she needs to be tighter. She's got the hamstrings coming in a little bit there, but she needs to drop a couple more pounds back there to really get those to show up and to really to display this well. Upper body looks good. I would probably relax the elbows down just a little bit to get the shoulders to pop a little more. But really where she did not win this show is through the conditioning in the lower body here in the back. So just needs to work on that. I would also probably add a little bit more extensions, because you can see where her hair kind of cuts off right here. That's her hair on top and extensions on the bottom. So I would add another weft of extensions in there to really blend that a lot better. You can really see the difference. So I would definitely work on getting that hair to kind of blend together better, right? So, yeah, I suggested a completely different color for Jessica when I was talking to her earlier. So we'll see. We'll see what she does. Completely different color. Gotta love her, but I'm gonna be honest. I didn't like the suit color. So Hope, Hope has been sitting in that second call out range. So this is a big deal for Hope, getting into this first call out and getting that second place here. That's a big deal for her. So congratulations to her. Let's take a look at her front pose. She's not fully posed, I don't think, in any of these poses, which makes me think she probably blew through her routine a little bit. Let me see if I can find one where she's fully posed. I don't think we have one. Let me see. Unless we go to the next page, we have some there. Maybe we have some on the last page. Maybe. There we go. She's fully posed here. It looks like everybody did like an NPC routine, basically. So, okay, so conditioning is on here, which is why I'm guessing she probably beat Jessica as far as the conditioning is concerned. She's a little bit upper body dominant here. So what I would suggest is probably trying to rework this pose just a little bit, relaxing this arm down, maybe opening up the feet a little to try and balance the upper and lower. She's got good glute pop and things like that going on here. And again, conditioning is great. She's a little bit thicker through the waistline, so she needs to pose a little bit bigger in order to really downplay that waistline. Yeah, I would play with the pose more than anything else here. I would play with that pose a little bit. I think she's close, but I'm not sure that's fully the right pose for her as far as the front pose is concerned. Let's take a look at the back. All right, she's killing it from the back. This is a great look from the back. Whoops, I hit my battery. There we go. Upper body's nice and wide. Waistline, again, we're talking about her waistline to upper back ratio. She's got a thicker waistline, so she's got to get that upper back wider. This is good. She did a great job with this pose here, really maximizing her genetics here with this pose. Lower body is on point with this conditioning, right? She's got tie-ins, but they're not super etched in. She's got good projection out, and she's got good upper outer glute here too. This is a very, very strong back pose right here. I don't think I would change a whole lot with this. I think, again, where she needs to kind of tweak a few things is in her front pose. I don't think I would change much about the conditioning. I would just kind of rework that front pose a little bit until you find the right spot to show the best balance. But the back pose is great. I don't think I would change anything here. And we have our winner, which was Brianna. So coming into this, we assumed she was going to be your front runner after just winning in Dallas. It was Dallas, right? Or no, I'm sorry, Orlando. I keep getting those two mixed up. Orlando. She came in with a new suit color. I did talk to her about this previously. She had worn this this color when she was an amateur, and she wanted to wear it again. I like it on her. I'm still a fan of the red. I like the red better. I think this is an even better package than what she won in Orlando with. She's a little bit tighter here. You can see it through her glutes and her legs. But she's full. That's the difference. She's got a nice fullness here, nice roundness, and she's tighter. I think this is a really good look, really strong front pose. I don't think I would change a thing about this front pose at all. The only thing I can see is maybe take this hand and pull it back a little. It's coming quite close to her belly button in the center of her waistline, so I'd probably pull that a touch back. But other than that, I wouldn't change anything else here. It's a beautiful look. And back pose. So again, back pose I think is right on. She's got the hamstring tie-in, but it's not super etched in. She's got that nice full round pop to her glutes coming out at us, also on the upper outer glutes. She's got great balance between her legs and her glutes, and then she's got that tiny waistline and that V into her shoulders. And I think her hair is perfectly placed on her back too. It does not cover up her shoulders in the back, which is great. That is a really, really good, again, really very, very strong back pose right here. This is a hard back pose to beat. I mean, it's really well balanced. I don't see anything that I would change here at all. Like, I think this is a little bit better of a package than what she put on stage in Orlando. I still like the red suit better, but other than that, I mean, this isn't a bad suit. The purple's not bad at all. I just like her in red. I think this is great. I think this is a really good package. If I was her, I'd bring this to Olympia. So that's my 2 cents on that. Okay, so let's get to our final show, which was the shocker of the weekend, really, because again, we had a new winner. So I think going into this, everyone just kind of assumed that Ashley was going to walk away with the win. We talked about it in our preview. We saw a few people that could be potentially up into the first call out. You know, Alice has not been on stage for a year and a half, and she ended up winning the whole show. So, you know, she was in first call outs along the way, but never could really nail everything all at once. Yeah, she nailed it. She nailed it. So let's take a look at our top 5. So we have Brianna. So she was just in Vancouver. She was very hard in Vancouver, and that was really what the issue was with her presentation there. Let's take a look at her front pose. And I would say she's still too hard. So front pose in general is not bad. I would definitely soften up this elbow. This is a really hard elbow pose right here, right? She needs to soften that up. She just needs to soften up in general, right? She's very hard. You can see it through the vascularity, the striations in her shoulder, all of that kind of stuff. So you can see the rib cage. This, you know, you never want to see ribs here. She needs to fill out. This is a really strong pose if she could fill it out. This is a really strong front pose if she could fill it out. Yeah, that's the main thing she's got to do here. And I would relax this hand and elbow is just too hard. This is what we talk about when we're talking about X versus S frame. This is an X. This makes an X right here. So soften it up, soften it up. Let's take a look at her back shot. There's a lot of pictures for this show. There we go. Now from the back, again, she's a bit too hard and she's really pinching and really arching here, right? So I'd like to see her stand up a little taller, not arch quite so much. Let the hands come down and relax here. Let the glutes fill out. She's just overposing this. She's really overposing this. So if she was to stand up a little taller and open up that back, her glutes would probably not look quite so hard in that tie-in and quite so flat. I think she would actually fill out. She'd have more upper outer pop here. This is all posing. I would, again, just stand up taller and relax this a little bit. She's doing herself a disservice with her posing right now. I think she actually looks better from the back than what she's showing here. So she still needs to fill out regardless. We got to see more pop to that muscle. She needs to fill it out. Up, backwards and forward, she needs to fill it out. She's just over posing. So fix the posing and fill out in general. And then we have Yumi, who's been doing well, top fives. Let's see if we go to the third page. Yep. Okay, let's get a front pose. Everybody's liking the purple on Rihanna. I like the purple too, but I just like red as her color. So Yume here, pretty good top to bottom. I think she's a little bit, like she needs to fill out a little bit. She's not overly conditioned like we were just talking about. She's not overly conditioned. I think she's just a little bit flat here maybe. I think if she fills out like her shoulders a little, lets this arm relax a little bit, pumps the shoulders up a little, we're seeing striations back here. I think that's a fullness issue. Like she just needs to eat a little bit more. I think she's just a little flat. Getting very, very dangerously close to a suit malfunction here. So just be careful about that kind of thing, guys. I'm almost thinking I'm seeing something I shouldn't be seeing. So just watch that. Let's go to a back pose. The angle on these photos too is a little bit high from what we're used to. So that's something as well. I think her back pose, as far as how she's structuring it, is right on. I think she's hitting that pretty well. Conditioning is pretty decent too. She's got a little bit of a slight imbalance in the hips. She's pushing a little bit over to her left, so she needs to center that out. If she centered it out, I think it would look a lot better, because we're seeing like no separation from her glutes into her legs over here, and that's because she's pushing a little bit onto that left leg. And the reason she's pushing onto that left leg is because that is the leg she uses in her front pose. So guys, this is why we harp on making sure that you're posing on both sides in your front, so that you don't end up with these imbalances, because that's what's happening right here. She's just crunched over on this side because of her front pose. I think she just needs to fill out. Conditioning, I think, is good. I just think she's flat. I just think she's flat here. So just needs to fill out. Overall, not a bad structure to her back pose, though. She just needs to watch that imbalance a little bit. Tamikia, so she ended up in third. Let's find a front pose. Okay, here's her front pose. Pretty good on the conditioning here. She's got a little bit of striation up here in the shoulder, just a touch. So I'd probably watch that. I know she has an issue with, balancing the conditioning from her upper to lower body, but I think this is pretty damn close. I don't think I would change a whole lot here. As far as the front pose, I think she's doing a good job of hitting it. She may just need to be just a touch fuller. But that's a dangerous game, because then you end up being not conditioned in the legs. So I think she did a pretty good job of dialing in right here. She just needs to keep coming back, really, more than anything else. I don't know if I would change a whole lot there. Again, maybe try to fill out just a little bit so you don't have that striation and that graininess in the leg. And you got some more fullness, like what we saw in Rihanna. Like Rihanna's got that nice round fullness. So I think she needs to get that in there. She's pretty close. And this is where I think she needs that fullness to pop her, is that back pose, right? So from the back, she's very tight through the hamstring tie-in. It's a full tie-in, you know, we see it there. But if she was a little bit fuller here, that would blur that line just a touch, and it would give her just a little bit more projection at us here. And that's, again, I think she just needs to be a little bit fuller, just a little bit. Upper body pose looks great. You know, how she's actually structuring this pose, again, looks great. I just think she's a little bit flat. And it's a hard balancing act because, again, you don't want to come in too full where you have no lines. So, you know, I think she did a pretty good job. I think it's just about getting in there and really nailing it on the right day, you know. And then we have Ashley in second. So, again, everybody was a little bit shocked about this. But, you know, Ashley's been beaten a few times this year. So she's not unbeatable. It's definitely doable. I know she was coming back to try to defend this title, and she was overtaken. So let's take a look at her front pose. Same things that I've said in the past about her with her lower abs and her front pose. You know, just got to figure out this little distension here, because we already know she's got a little bit of a thicker waistline than some of the girls here, which does get exposed when she's next to some really teeny tiny waistline girls. So that's something she's got to pay attention to. Got to also pay attention to this hair that's landing in the middle of her chest that kind of is distracting and blurs her lines a little bit. Let's see if she gets it off her chest. I don't think she does. Nope, it sits there the whole time. So as she twists into this more, as we're clicking through, this is a better look here. But we already saw her with the waistline nice and wide and open, so it made her look a little bit thicker through that waist. This is a better look when she actually gets that twist in there. So just be careful, guys. You got to get into that pose immediately, because that is definitely a better look. But I would still say this is distracting to me, that hair falling in the middle of her chest right there. And I still see that little bit of lower ab distension. So in general, this is a pretty good look, though. She's actually tight through the shoulder, which sometimes she's a little bit blurred on this line. I actually like this line on her at this show. She's not holding any water in her lower back like she does sometimes when she's a little bit full. She's not doing that. So overall, I think this is a really good look for her, to be honest with you. There's just a few little things that I always zoom in on her, and that would be the lower ab here. And I would say get into this pose faster, because this is her spot right here. When she's a little bit too straight on, that's too much, makes her look a little bit blocky. This is not blocky here. This is good. So be aware of the hair. That's definitely something that I would say for that, because it's very distracting, like I said, as far as takes away from her shape. Let's find a back pose. So the biggest thing on this back pose is her hair is too long. She's done this a few times this year, and I'm not really sure why she doesn't fix it, because it's cutting off the top of her glutes. It's over the top of her suit line, and it's actually hitting the top of her glutes and diminishing that pop on the top. Needs to cut the hair. That was a big downfall at this show, I think, for her, was the hair more than anything else. Pop on her glutes is good. Conditioning is good. She's got the tie-in, but not too tight. You know, things we've been saying without everyone else. There's something that's a little bit off about this back pose for me, and I'm not really sure what it is. Typically, when I see Ashley's back pose, it's just like, bam, wow, she wins the show. You know, I don't see that here. And I'm wondering if it's like projection. I'm not sure what it is exactly. It's just not wowing me like it typically does. Not to say that it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's a great back pose. I mean, clearly she's got one of the best back poses in the league, but for this particular show, there's just a little bit something missing. And I don't know if it's just she's a little flat. Not sure. It could just be the lighting too. I don't know, but it's just not wowing me. In general, I think it's a good back shot. I don't think there's anything wrong with it other than the fact she needs to cut her hair. But I don't know. There's just something a little bit missing right here. And then we have Alice, who won the show. So again, Alice is relatively new on the scene. She's been around for a couple of years, but she took a long time off to, kind of build her frame out and get the right proportions going because she has this ridiculous genetic frame. And she's got a teeny tiny little waistline here. Great front pose. I mean, it really, again, when you get somebody who has this small of a waistline, it really exposes people that don't have that teeny tiny little waistline. So it makes it difficult to beat somebody like this. Really, her conditioning is right on. Again, I don't see anything that's really sticking out to me as far as conditioning. She's got a little bit of a bicep vein, but not bad. In comparison to some of the other girls, this is nothing as far as that bicep vein is concerned. Again, she's full and she's tight. She's super tight through that waistline. So maybe pull the front pose around a little bit more in that upper body just to open that upper body up a little bit, but then you get away from doing the S curve and you get into the X curve. So this is more of that S frame that we're looking for, which I do think is the right call. So they probably played that on purpose, knowing that they're looking for more of that S versus the X. Let's take a look at her back shot. So her back shot's ridiculous as far as her pop is concerned. Great shot here. Really good projection, really good upper outer glute pop. Hamstring tie-in, again, when we're talking about the hamstring tie-in, it's there, but it's not etched in. It's not overpowering. She has great balance from her upper to lower body. That is a big deal, that balance from top to bottom. She doesn't have, I mentioned this on a thread on Reddit, I said she doesn't have those super long hamstring tie-ins. So when you don't have those genetic, drops in your tie-ins, you have to build your glutes up and out. She's got a very similar structure from the back to Rihanna, and they have that ridiculous upper outer glute pop, and it just looks like you could stick a freaking soccer ball on each leg, and that's their glute pop, right? It's nice and round and full in every dimension. Every angle that you look at with her glutes, it pops. Top, bottom, side, front, all of it. It all pops. Same thing with Rihanna. Same look to her glutes because they have a very similar genetic structure. So, maybe this is why I felt like Ashley's was a little bit underwhelming in comparison to hers, because Ashley's didn't really have that at this particular show. There was a little bit of lack of projection, whereas we see projection from every angle here on Alice. So this is a phenomenal package. It's a phenomenal look, and it's crazy for her to come back after having an off season for a year and a half, basically never having won a show. Then she comes out her first show back, wins it, and beats one of the best competitors in the league. So huge, massive congratulations to her. Again, looking at the hair, this is a great example. She has really perfect hair structure. She's not blocking her shoulders here. She's covering up enough of her back. I might do a little bit longer, kind of create the same look that we had from Rihanna. So you kind of cover this up a little bit. But in general, I think that this is a pretty banging look. I don't think I would change much else. Maybe get a little bit longer on the hair, just like Rihanna has. Do the same thing. Again, they're very comparable as far as structure is concerned, and even the look with the hair too. So phenomenal job. Congratulations to her as well. So across the board this past week, I agreed with the winners. I don't think there was anybody that I was like, I don't really understand that. Sometimes you can do a toss up between a couple of people, that kind of thing, but I don't think that was the case here. I think it was a pretty clear winner in every single show. So, some of those top fives, you probably could have swapped a couple of placings, those kinds of things. But at this point, it doesn't matter anyway, because only the winners go to the Olympia anyway. So, phenomenal job by each one of these ladies. And I love seeing this kind of thing happen too, because they were very distinct genetic structures that are different. So it's like, I love seeing that those genetic structure. You don't have to be a specific genetic structure in order to win a show. You just have to maximize your frame. I definitely would love to see Alice and Rihanna next to each other. Absolutely, because they are very similarly built. They really are. They're very similarly built when it comes to their structures. So it's cool to see them kind of maximizing their frame. Rihanna to me in the past was a little bit on the small side. Now I don't think that. Now I think she's right where she needs to be with her size. I think she's done a good job on that. Alice, I think probably could add a little bit more shoulder to balance her lower body, but just a touch, just a little bit, not a lot. But I think they're both very, very close to kind of maximizing their frame and really showing the best that their frame can do. And they're both really, really dangerous. I mean, clearly, Alice just beat Ashley. You know what I mean? So they're dangerous. They're very dangerous. So, any questions you guys had, or anything else that you guys wanted to add in here before we finish out for tonight? I'll leave it open for another minute or two, and leave it open for any kind of commentary you'd like to add. We, again, don't have a pro show this weekend to follow up with. I'll be here at a local show. We have a local show literally right down the street, so that's where I'll be this weekend. We do have a Sundays with Sean this coming Sunday, so if you're local and you'd like to do a group session, we do group sessions twice a month. We have one this Sunday. Getting my water in. And as we're waiting, if this is going to, we're waiting to see if anybody wants to chime in, add anything else. Let me give another quick shout out to our sponsors, which are Prozis. Go get yourself your supplements. Everything is discounted with our code. We have phenomenal health foods too. I've been using them all prep. I get these like protein wraps, and I freaking love them. They're like having, I have my chicken wraps with my protein wraps. And then also Liquid Sun Rayz. Go get all of your tanning essentials. And if you're backstage pass, make sure that you are on the Zoom tomorrow, because we will have Mama Rayz in there with you. So if we have no other questions or comments, with that, I'm going to let you guys go. We'll come back again next week. Definitely preview the shows that we have coming up, specifically Tampa coming up. We won't have any shows to wrap up next week, but we'll definitely preview. So we'll probably do that on Tuesday after the lists all come out and everything. So hope you guys have had a great week. Enjoy your weekend. Follow the USA coverage, and